You know we talk that stick talk, I'm about to fuck this cash up.
All right, we're back. Stick Talk episode number 4. We got J Mac, of course, co-host back on the grind.
Ready to party.
And tonight we got special guest Jonathan Bailey. So another Gen 1 Coyote car. Back to the Gen 1 Coyote cars.
Yeah, I don't know about special, but I'm here.
No, thanks for coming on.
Appreciate you having me.
We know you've got a bit of a history with the stick shift Coyote stuff. I know currently you're not running stick shift, but I guess you can fill us in kind of your stick shift journeys, I guess, from the past. I think as of right now, you're still like in the top 25 of like fastest stick shifts.
I haven't looked in a while. I know I'm still the fastest stock MT82 in an S197. So very micro.
Oh.
I think the guy's name is John Askey that has the overall he's in an S550, something like that.
Okay.
I went a 942 at 153 or something like that. So.
No shit.
Yeah.
Okay. So that sounds about right, because I remember looking into the stock MT82 record a few months back, and it was like a 940 something. So I guess it still is your record.
Yeah, and that was completely stock transmission from 2012. That was the one that came in the car.
Yeah.
Stock motor too, or just transmission?
No, it was just transmission. It was actually the same motor I have now. It was just stock cam deal, a 2018 manifold on-3 twin turbo kit, 4 Innovations fuel system. It's really very minor, basic stuff. But we had those. We had like 60 pounds of dome pressure on the on-3 kit to do that.
Damn.
Pin the gate shut. So there was so much ET left on that setup though. So I would shift around into fifth around 1,000 foot mark due to gearing not being right, and I really didn't want to break the transmission either, so I would be on like 12, 14 pounds first and second gear, and then I had a switch that was a scramble, and I'd turn it on as soon as I hit third, and then once I hit third, I would just it hit 28, 30 pounds, as much as it could make, and then
holy shit.
Yeah.
Badass.
Yeah, and that was done in 6,000 DA2, so terrible air.
Yeah, that is terrible.
Impressive.
Yeah, because I did check. So for the top 25 stick shift Coyotes, that's including T56s and all those other transmissions, you were still on that list, which is pretty impressive too with a stock MT82. And they should actually probably update that list, because when I did look at it, it didn't list what transmission you had in the car.
Yeah, back then it was ran by Orby. He was setting up that list, and he always said, he was like, "I'm coming for that stock MJ2 record," and he just never went back to the track. Which, he was doing it with a stock motor, so that was pretty cool. He wasn't far behind either. So, which I really think you can make a stock motor live there and be just fine. I had an incident where it was a Paxton 2200 SL before the twin turbo kit when I blew the motor up, and I went from a 3.4 pulley to a 3.1 pulley, and the tuner at the time said, "Oh, the tune will be fine. Don't worry about it. It'll correct for it." Well, it had a lot of timing in it and didn't correct for it, so it disintegrated. So
how much boost would it have been making on that pulley?
21 is what it made.
Holy shit! And that was on the stock motor?
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh fuck!
Damn.
21 pounds of boost, and it's 23 degrees of timing at that.
Holy shit!
Ow.
Wow.
What happened? Rods exit the block?
No, actually, it broke the sleeve.
Holy shit.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Put a hole in the sleeve, and I drove it home like that. This was it wasn't very smart, but I drove it home like that. I wasn't far from my house, and I was actually doing a data log of it, and sent it off, and I looked at it. That was the first time I looked at the data log, and I saw what it said, and I was like, no wonder it blew up.
Holy shit. So who was tuning that one? Or we're not going to say.
It was Rob Shoemaker then.
Well,
Interesting.
oh.
I will say, I had a built motor Paxton set up after that, and another tuner tuned it, and it was faster with the stock motor in his tune on the 3.4 pulley than the 3.1 pulley with the other guy's tune.
So how much boost would a 3.4 pulley make on that setup?
It was like 12 pounds of boost. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, for a stock motor, since you're running that stock Gen 1, I mean, what do you – I'm trying to pick your brain while I got you on here because I'm kind of doing that deal now. I'm trying to chase what you and Orby were doing with the stock motor and stock transmission. I'm trying to go into the 30s or 20s if I can, which is probably asking for a lot. But what do you feel like, from your experience, you're pushing too much on a Gen 1? You think 14 pounds is unheard of on a stock Gen 1? Or you think, you know –
No, I mean, it depends. Do you want it to live, or are you willing to run? You know, because just about anything will last one pull, right?
Yeah.
So my suggestion is to never run it past the 8th unless it's a really good pass, and because you have so much heat in the engine from the 1/8 mile to the 1/4 mile. And that's why you see a lot of 1/4 mile racers like Brett LaSalle. He has an intercooler, but he's on methanol, right?
Yep.
Most 1/8 mile cars, they just run methanol, which they make more power, but with being intercooled because heat is the enemy. But my suggestion is don't run it past the 8th unless it's a really good pass and you think that's the one. A good tuner, I mean, I'm not sure who tuned yours. But
I'm with Manny Alvarez from HPP Racing out of Texas.
Okay. Yeah, so good tuner. My experience, low timing, higher boost seems to be the better way of doing it. So like on the LS stuff, I'm good buddies with Jack Roberts. They'll actually take a timing ramp, pull timing the peak torque ranges, and then add it back in at higher RPM ranges. So I think that would be, which the stock ECUs on the Coyote should be able to do that, I would think. So just, tricks like that they're doing. I would definitely gap the rings. It seems like ring failure is pretty common on the Coyote stuff. You can actually learn a lot from why ring failure is the problem just by watching some of what's that? It's a teardown video of Brett LaSalle's engine with Joe Irwin.
Oh,
he talks about how the piston comes out of the chamber and causes issues. So you can learn a lot just by YouTube, really.
Yeah, I seen that video not too long ago. I'm just trying to, I come from the LS world, so when you're, with those motors, you pill it till you kill it, and they seem to take a lot. But obviously, a Coyote, you blow one of those up, it is no cheap venture, and this is my first time really. I played with nitrous, I played with the NA stuff, so now I'm venturing into the boosted Coyote stuff, and I want to see how far we can push this Gen 1. I know Houston out of Texas, your guy you used about the Kaisers from. I know he was running like 8 something out of his, and his Gen 1 was living a long time from what it seemed like. But I got to see what I can party with, because I definitely, hopefully, will be there at War in the Woods with you guys for potentially a stick class, from what I'm hearing.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I wish I could make that event. War in the Woods is probably one of the best events I've ever been to. Yeah. That and Yellow Belly, just nothing matches those two.
Yeah, I met you. I want to say it was the first, or no, it was the second event last year. I think it was second War in the Woods. I talked to you briefly about Coyote.
Yeah. You came by. I was having issues, so sorry if I was.
No, you're good. That's why I was like, I'll make it quick. I'm not going to bother you. I understand how that goes. I've been there myself.
Well, so a lot of people don't know before that race. So I had scheduled PTO with work, and I went and tested the weekend before with a brand new converter because I was having issues with mine. I lost oil pressure on that Saturday, and I was leaving to go to the event on Monday. So, because it's a hike or actually it's Tuesday, leaving Tuesday. So I added another PTO day onto the schedule, and I ended up eating a secondary guide and clogging the pickup tube. But to get it's not like a chassis car or anything. Get the oil pan off of something like that. It's a
pain in the ass.
It's an adventure. So we ended up swapping converters back to what I had before. Rebuilt overnighting. I had like $1,000 in overnight and shipping just to get everything there in time, and then drove down there and then had another issue that wasn't related, and I was like, man, this sucks. Yeah. War in the Woods has a curse on me though, because I've broken the finals of the one before that, and I definitely feel like I had the car to beat.
Yeah, I remember seeing that when I was there for that one as well, and that was badass seeing your car run. You were on rails that day, and it looked like that car was definitely, like you said, the one to beat.
Yeah, it sucks. So kind of, I do everything last minute, right? So I swapped to the single turbo kit right before that event. I had one street hit and two. I wouldn't really call them track hits. It's a really, really bad track that we have. Just basically making sure that it will go down. But yeah, one street hit and then two track hits before that, and then we took a brand new setup down there, and it worked well. We were the single is a whole nother animal because its efficiency range. It was a no time 98, so its efficiency range was 38 pounds. Like it was 1-to-1 all the way to 45. And for the no prep stuff that we do, I can't really use it. Couldn't use the power. Like I hit 32 pounds one time at War in the Woods, and that was there's another S197. I forgot his name. It's a 3-valve car.
Yep, I know which one. Local.
Oh, the white one.
Zach Brom. There it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that one fucking moves out. That one's like he was at the cash states at the hill when I was there. That thing's no slouch.
Yeah, he's a local to me up in Illinois.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing's badass.
So we hit 32 pounds, against him, and squeaked by the wind. But he was out in front of me for up until the 330, and we were together 60 foot. He drove out on me by like a car to the 330, and then I drove back around him by a car on the big end. But I think he hit the rev limiter or something like that on they run a 2-speed 400, so the 1-2 shift, I guess. Mm. But the single was just not the kind of stuff that the racing I do. It wasn't good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going back to twins now, right?
Yeah, it's back to twins now. So I made 6 hits, broke a primary chain, which was kind of my fault.
I've seen that recently.
Yeah, that was my fault though. I was doing some stuff that I shouldn't have been doing and making other changes, but I was leaving on like 22 pounds of boost to try to get it to roll out because I'm trying some gear ratio things, and yeah, I sat on the brake on bouncing from 19 to 22 pounds for 6 seconds.
Oh, shit.
And as soon as I let go of the button, it just popped. I was like, well, I know what that sound is. Yeah.
It's never a good time.
Mm-mm.
So how long have you? Let's kind of go back to like where this started with you. Like how long you've been messing around with the Coyote? Like when did you get your car?
So I bought the car when I was 18 years old. It was completely stock with a Paxton 2200 SL on. I say completely stock. It had ID 1050X injectors and then a booster pump, and it had meth injection too. And that combo went 1050s.
Okay.
So it was pretty decent. And then, you know, I bought the car cash when I was 18 because I'd been working the whole year and saving up all my money. So I, you know, stacked some money back up, and then I decided I wanted to do a fuel system. And once I did the fuel system, I only ran it to the 8th after that, but it went like a 645, 111, something like that. And it had a RST clutch at the time. So then I grenaded the motor because I was turning it up because it was still on the 3/4 pulley from the pump gas setup with the meth injection. And I had the meth pump fail on me. I don't suggest meth injection at all. It's not consistent enough, in my opinion. But so then I went to, you know, the 3/1 pulley, blew it up, put the built motor in there, which was fast forward race engines from the start. It was a sleeve motor.
It's an FFRE motor then?
Yeah, it was FFRE from the start, and then I mean, built a great relationship with them guys, and they're awesome. I suggest. So I tune a lot of cars, a lot of Coyote cars, you know, around the country. You know, one from I help out with one from North Carolina, and then I help out a lot with one from Florida, and they both have different engine builders. And I'm not going to say names, but when they have problems, good luck getting them to help. First, Fast Forward is, you know, very caring, and Gina up there, like, she's on top of stuff, and the whole group's awesome. They know their stuff. So
yeah, I don't think there's any other way to go than FFRE if you're buying a built Coyote, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the thing is, you know, a lot of these people, other companies, that's not their bread and butter, right? Fast Forward, they got in with Brett, and Brett went stage by stage to figure out what it needed and where the limitation was, which obviously he has a great tuner, and, you know, you could have failures from a not great tuner, but as far as like the mechanical limitations of everything, they know it. So most of these other companies don't. They just built something that was, you know, what they think is the best, and they don't know the limitations. So
absolutely, I've seen that a lot. There's a lot of local engine builders that, especially in my area, whether it's LS, small block Chevy, there's a lot of companies now that are like, oh yeah, we do Coyotes too, and it's like, I know, I've seen plenty of these motors out there. You're not it. You're not that guy.
Yeah.
See it a lot.
So from there, it went to the twin turbo then, right? On 3.
Yeah. So from the Paxton after that, I ran some cash days, some stick shift cash day stuff, and there was one specific event that changed my mind, and I went to the finals of a stick shift event. It was this really cool track. It's called Denton. It had a really yellow belly feel, like old school feel, and that track's been sold recently. But I went to the finals versus a Honda. Man, that Honda, we were together first, second. I hit third, and he's like, see ya. And, you know, he's put 4 or 5 cars on me. This 8th mile racing. And I was like, I need more power. And blowers, you know, you can't really get more. You can get more power out of a blower, but it's just with a stock repeater, you don't have any way to tame it, right? So after that, I got an on-3 twin turbo kit, which I ended up having to do a tubular front end to get it to fit. But you know, the old joke.
That's what they say with the on-3. Put it on 3 times.
Man, that turbo kit though. Once I got it on, it was nothing but good to me. Like those cheap turbos. I mean, the gates were pinned every time that car made a pass, and turbos never came apart. I mean, they're Chinese turbos. Or they used to be Chinese turbos. I don't know if they make them different now, but I was very happy with the turbo kit. So
Yeah, they work. That's the thing. They say it is a bit of a pain in the ass to get on, but once they're on, they do work for what
And
they
it's
are.
cheap. They're cheap. Now I
Yeah.
suggest everyone. So like locally, I have a shop named DTR Performance, and they're one of my sponsors. But so they build all my turbo kits, and if you find a shop that does good work for a decent price, there is no reason to buy an on-3 kit, because you can buy VS turbos and buy VS gates and VS blow-up valves, and that all, that's all stuff is all great. And then by the time you had all the work and putting it on, you're $1,000 more to build a custom turbo kit. Now, not everybody has that DTR performance local to them, but anyone in Texas does. So, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I've been hearing too. That's the best bet when you go with turbo, is to get a custom setup made. Basically was told that there's not really a great off-the-shelf kit. There's some that are okay.
They're great off-the-shelf kits, but they're $10,000 to $12,000.
Yeah, I guess like an Aldo kit or something like that.
Yeah, his kits are great, but they all have their limitations. I think custom is just the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's personally what I'm doing. I'm running an old school Hellion single kit, but that thing's been it's the bare bones at this point. It's pretty much we're just using the crossover pipe, and everything else has been turned into something completely different. We're using their intercooler, their crossover pipe, and that's about it. Everything else has been upgraded to turbo smart gates and blow off valve. I got a big VS racing turbo, and all the piping I've changed out and used the motion.
You're doing single?
Yeah, I got a big single on mine. It's a 8117 from VS Racing, journal bearing turbo. So we're using one of those. Plenty of turbo to grow into, because I plan on once we put a built motor in it to really see what we can party with, and then once the MT82 leaves the chat, we'll see what's next.
Man, if you don't miss a gear and don't be stupid, because I'm saying like I was stupid. I'm not saying you're stupid.
Oh no, I am very stupid.
The only time I ever broke the transmission was because I was stupid.
Yeah.
So I used to roll race. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody roll raced at some point, right? So,
yeah,
I had a great idea one time that I was going to do a rolling burnout because I had issues hooking, right? Instead of messing with the suspension, I was going to do a rolling burnout. So I put it in second, and I brake boosted it, and just wide smoke the tire. I was like, oh, let's go a little further, and I hit third. When I hit third, pop! I was like, that's the OG. That's the OG transmission. Yeah, so
G gone.
Yeah, that's when I at the same time I hurt my back at work. I had a disc blowout at work, so I couldn't drive. I couldn't even walk. I got to a point where I couldn't walk. That's what really changed around me. Also, my girlfriend at the time, which is my wife now, her dad bracket raced, and she told me that she was going to drive her dad's car and beat me. And the next day, a Turbo 400 was ordered. So I was not going to let that happen.
So a mix, I guess, of that injury and blowing the OG transmission up. That's when you're like, I'm done with the stick shift life.
Yeah, well, I put 2 other transmissions in it, and in between that time frame, but they're both stock transmissions, and I did the same thing again, being an idiot, and broke it again. And then the last one that I put in, it had like a shift fork issue. So to get it into third, you could get it in, but you couldn't go in fast. So yeah, I think a lot of making the MT82 live is, for one, a good shifter. MGW, I don't know what y'all use, but MGW was...
Yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah.
So whenever I was doing it, that was the time frame where the RST clutch, so they changed something in their materials, and the RST would just hold no power. Like, it was just like none at all. So you could go to the RXT, but it grabbed so hard that it was prone to break the transmission.
Transmissions, yeah. So
I tested... I'd never seen anybody use it before. It was an XD clutch. It was, the part number is EX04HD. I get asked so many times I have it memorized, but that clutch was the best clutch I think I've ever driven for the price. Like it was better than the
Was it a single disc?
I don't remember. It's been like 3 or 4 years since then.
No, it's funny you say that because I've got an Exity clutch in my car, and I chose the Exity based on my history with Hondas, and the Exity clutches that I had in my Hondas were better than any other clutch I had ever used in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And this Exity's been holding up very well, but it's like underrated. It's only good for like 600 foot-pounds of torque, I think, is what it's rated for, the Mach 600.
Yeah.
I'd be curious that Exity that you're using, if that's like the next level up. I still haven't looked to see.
It was rated for 1,200, I think, or 1,000 or 1,200, something like that.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my next clutch. That's
Yeah, so that clutch drove. I mean, I've driven cars with Mantic, or is it Mantic? I've been
Mantic.
Yeah. I've been at a stick shift game so long that I don't remember everything, but I've driven cars with Mantics, and those are the high dollar, right? They come in the briefcase, everything, and they didn't drive as good. You know, the Exity didn't chatter. It didn't nothing. It was just great. It was easy to slip. Oh, one more thing. Now that I'm thinking about slipping, high RPM. I was leaving at like 5,800 pound or 5,800 RPM, and then like 15 pounds of boost whenever I set that record. So I didn't have any ramp in it at all. It was 13, 15 pounds somewhere in there, and then that was it until I hit third gear, and then that's when I grabbed the scramble button and then went pin the gate shut.
Okay.
So lots of RPM to get it to help roll out better. You said single turbos, so probably more RPM than that, because the engine's going to lose RPM whenever you go to start slipping that clutch. So
yeah, I've been a big proponent of the high RPM launches. Even when I was spraying the car, I was leaving it like 7,200 to 7,500 on a 200 shot, no progressive, to allow the clutch to slip, to purposely make it slip, and also get a little bit of wheel speed as well. And I mean, we're still going 1.4s on the street, puddle and go, and it stood alive. And I tell a lot of people that like the big killer of both stock 88s and MT82s is dead hooking the tire. I've dead hooked the car one time at 6,500 RPM on the street, and I twisted the axle tube, destroyed the whole center section of the 88, and that was the end of that 88. But as I tell everybody, I'm like, I can tell you from experience, you do not want a dead hook. I'm like, the higher you can leave, the happier your car is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how I broke an 88 like that too. Is I dead hooked a radial, and I dumped the clutch, trying to get wheel speed, and it dead hooked, and I was like,
yeah, that time.
How long ago was it when you switched over to the TH400 then?
It's been definitely over 3 years.
3 years, okay.
Yeah, definitely over 3 years. And I think if I were to go back to a MT82 now, and I got to live at the power that my car makes now for one pass, it would be, because I didn't know anything about suspension back then. I didn't know anything. There was so much left on the table that I didn't know about, and really hard to learn about with a stick-shift car, because everything's so inconsistent on the starting line. Yeah. How you drive it has to be exactly the same. Unless you have a slipper clutch, it's never going to be the same. And even then, if the slipper clutch is too hot, it's not going to be the same, which converter is kind of the same way. But there's so much inconsistency in it, which is what makes it fun to watch, but also, and fun to drive too, I would say, but it's also aggravating because you can never get it to do the same thing twice, I would say. You can, but it's very difficult too.
It is.
Definitely.
And that's something I think that you're really dialed in with that car, is you've got the suspension really, really hooked up. Because I do remember back to not long ago, I think Robbie Dollar was getting a bit of help from you too on the suspension stuff.
Yeah, so he was doing pretty well by himself. Yeah. For sure. Like he did well, and then he just kind of with the stock stuff, and then he started adding some parts to it, and I showed him how to plot out the suspension. Taught him, which he was smart enough to learn it all. He just kind of needed a little bit of guidance.
Yep.
But And then I kind of guided him in the right direction on where bar angles need to be, and the car worked, worked really well. He just kind of, for whatever reason, that car was really heavy. Like on methanol, his car was heavier than my car on the 85. So I'm not really sure why, but the car was heavy. And I showed him how to wire the windows. Like my car is fully rewired. And my automatic windows still work, and they still pop down whenever you open the door and everything like that. So,
that's badass. I'm going to need to ask you some questions about that when I convert over to a Holly.
Yeah, that's the best thing I ever did, because no matter how good the tuner is, nobody cares as much as you do. To learn it yourself, and you be the person that knows it now, and then people come to you and ask, whenever you have small issues here and there, you don't have to rely on somebody else. I mean, I think the best thing is be the person that it's kind of stressful sometimes when everyone relies on you, but be the person that can help everyone. And I try to help everyone I can. I mean, I get a lot of messages about, especially no prep cars, because there's not really many S197s that do it at a pretty decently high level,
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people are kind of not helpful, like they don't want to help. They just kind of want to keep their secrets. And there are things I don't share, but there's a lot that I will if you ask. So,
yeah, I noticed that's a big thing. Like I feel like that's what, in the no prep racing, there's a lot of gatekeeping on setups and stuff like that. And I understand, we all race each other. There's you got to have that advantage on the next guy. Otherwise, you make everybody fast. Everybody's going to be on the same boat. You're not going to ever have that advantage. It's harder to go rounds in that case. But the big one that gets me is like class to class. Like Chris and myself, we race stick class, but you'll ask somebody like in True Street, or you ask somebody like a small tire class, just like, hey, you know what? Let me just get your input. Just, how's the surface? How's this? And it's like they kind of shove you off like, I don't know, figure it out. And it's like, I'm not racing against you. We're not in the same class, but it's a big thing, especially in the no prep world, where it's just like there's this weird gatekeeping, which, I mean, it is what it is,
Some of that also is I don't want to give information that's going to hurt you in the middle of a race. So my car specifically is so dialed in. I know exactly what the tune-up's going to go into 60 foot. I know everything about what it's going to do before it does that, and what the shock setting need to be. I've tested all that, right? I could tell you I'm going to go this fast on this surface, and then you're like, oh, it's better than I thought, but it's not that your car will do it, So I try not to be mean at the track, but I also don't want to mess somebody up, because that's a big thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes
everyone's cars
in True Street. I mean, sometimes people ask me how fast I'm planning on going on this surface, and it backfired at War in the Woods. There's the guy that raced first round. He asked me how fast I was trying to go, and I told him I was trying to go at 540, and I went at 540. But he guessed, and he went I went a 49. He went a 85, and he beat me because he guessed he was the frame after the light.
Oh.
Because he knew he couldn't get there, so it backfired.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
And it's part of racing.
Yeah.
It's the fastest car to always win. And that event specifically, I think I've been the fastest. I know I was for sure the fastest off the trailer. And, I mean, that's just my opinion. I think the one before that, Dean Levens, was right there, pretty close. Going to be whoever left first would have won. But,
yeah, his car was hauling ass.
Yeah. Which I broke a coupling off of it was so we call it a bellows, right? For single turbo cars. It's like a floppy pipe. That way, if you have rattling or anything like that, it's not all solid. Because if the engine's solid mounted, then you can solid mount everything. But mine's not, because I've had issues going to the bumper, and I don't want to crack the block. That's a horror story. I mean, I would much rather break a stock motor mount than crack the block.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But that's what I broke in the finals against him. And I just got to watch him smoke the tire out back, and just like, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah. And it's funny you said that, because just the other day, I was talking to Mike Tanis that was running in True Street last year. He had a black nitrous Fox body, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, guys were telling me how fast my car was. He's like, realistically, he's like, there was a lot of guys that were faster there. I was just going A to B, but guys thought the car was that much faster because I was going A to B, that they were turning their shit up and making mistakes. And I'm like,
Arias Tim's the one before.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, which it's probably a good thing my car broke that bellows, because I actually had a lower control arm come loose against him. So my car kept driving towards the wall, and I was probably about that far off from the grass. I was just riding that line. You can see it in the in-car video. I'm like holding the steering wheel at 90 degrees, trying to fight it back. And I got the win on that one. But I was in the right lane the other time, so I would have went to the center. Once you hit that grass or in the woods, I mean, good luck. Hold on to get out of it.
Yeah.
Is your car still on the 3-link?
Yes. Yeah, 3-link.
Yeah, for the factory.
Factory 3-link. It doesn't have coilovers. Still pan hard bar. It's not even braced.
No shit.
Mm-hmm.
Just welded tubes?
Yeah, welded tubes, not braced. I'm in a 119/60 foot like that on the back tire.
Oh, shit.
That gives me hope. Everybody's like, man, you got to brace it. I'm like, I got welded tubes. I've seen a lot of guys go fast.
Stick shift car, I would definitely brace it. It's way more violent on that rear end.
Yeah.
Than
a lot more shock.
Yeah. Well, you have a converter, right? So you're basically think about like a stock vehicle, right? If you stall it up, then it's kind of setting the suspension, and it's not as much of a shock. But versus stick shift car, you let that clutch go, it's then sending everything to the rear end. It doesn't see anything before that. So
shock. I got to look more into it, but I've seen a lot of guys. We were just talking about Garrett Leach's clutch slipper from Second Shift Racing, and I know because we do a lot of the backside no prep between me and Chris, so we're looking at getting into some things like that. I think that would really help our program, and obviously,
definitely
keep the juice off a lot of the parts too.
Definitely. The backside, the worse the surface got, it would definitely help more. But you guys really need to have, what's his name? It's a stick shift racer. It's a dark blue car. He rolled it at a
oh shit!
New York?
That at an airport or something, wasn't it?
So I helped out with that car too on the suspension. And you're talking about a dude that's diehard stick shift. He's a guy you need to have on, and he's doing it with a stock bottom end motor.
I haven't seen much on that car since it rolled.
So
I'll have to look that
he's been building it behind the scenes. We text all the time. That dude is so he knows everything about that car weight wise. That's probably one of the lightest S197s. I'm not gonna throw him out there. If he wants to tell you, he can tell you. But he's very smart, very smart.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to link up with him and try to get him on too.
Yeah.
That was the last time I seen him.
He's going crazy. 1 second.
Oh yeah, that's the last time I seen him was at all online was when the car rolled. Since then, I really haven't seen nothing from that car. But I guess it makes sense if he's getting it back together.
It's already back together. He's raced it.
Oh, has he?
Yeah,
oh, shit.
I don't think he's really posted anything on Facebook about it. But he sends me videos all the time because he's wanting to know what to change his suspension.
Yeah. No, that was crazy that when he rolled that shit.
There's all that travel.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Travel.
Yeah, because it seemed like that car was moving out pretty good too.
Mm-hmm. It works extremely well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a smart dude too, and he fits right in with the that diehard stick shift deal, and he loves it.
Yeah.
He was actually talking about he was talking to me about he wanted to race the small tire at an event. I was like, yeah, you're gonna be at a significant disadvantage being a stick shift car. And he goes, nah, man, I'm 1-to-1. I don't have to worry about converter slip. I got all the power right there in the wheels. I was like, All right.
Oh shit. Yeah, that'd be a tough one. Like I don't mind competing like in the modern classes and stuff like that, but when you get into like True Street, because I did run True Street at Cash Days at the Hill, right? And it's like, it's a lot tougher in a stick shift car, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's not as consistent, right?
Yeah. The modern class is such a interesting. So every modern class they have, really they only have it like yellow belly stuff like that. So I went to yellow belly and I was in the extreme daily class because my car is, like it or not, it is very very stock-ish. I would say there's not much that you can rule out. Like actual rule, you couldn't rule it out. But if it's an advantage, I have it. You know what I mean? So, I fit the extreme daily class, which I'm not saying my car is an extreme daily car. It's a True Street car, purpose-built True Street car, but it fit the rules. So if I fit the rules, I'm going to get in the class. I like half-tracked everybody and went to the finals of small tire. And if I hadn't done something stupid, I think I would have won small tire too. I slowed down like 4/10 in the finals because the surface went away. But ever since then, there's been one modern class, and they had a very specific rule that was aimed towards my car. So it's like, it's a modern car though. How do you?
It is. That's the thing. Yeah, it is.
What was the rule, if you don't mind me asking?
It was, I think it was a cage rule or something like that. I don't know. It's been over a year ago. I just saw it. I mean, I probably wouldn't have run it anyways because I wanted to run True Street and small tire. So most of the time I was buying a small tire for a test it because we travel so far.
Yeah.
Have all this money invested. I mean, sometimes it pays off.
Right on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I noticed too, I mean, you were talking about like the modern classes. It seems like the modern classes, from what I'm noticing, are more favorable toward the Mopars and the GM platforms. It seems like a lot of the rules that make the Mustangs have the advantage, it's like the rules are set up so like the S550s, the S197s can't really compete from what I'm noticing, especially if you're on a stick class or a stick car. Coming from stick class, you're like, hey, I want to hop in, say there's no stick class, well, I'm going to hop in like modern. It's like, well, yeah, you got to be on a 17-inch wheel with a radial. You can't be on a slick or a bias ply. You can't have a 15. Just a lot of the rules you look at, and it's like, yeah, this is more geared definitely toward like the Hellcat, Trackhawk, ZL1 crowd from what I'm noticing.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of the subject is they have to have a way to slow down the Coyote cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the LT platform hasn't gone as far as the Coyote platform. Mopar definitely hasn't. I think there's one Corvette by you, Chris, that's pretty. It's an LT1 car. It's a green Corvette. I've seen it on Pertreat.
Oh, green Corvette.
The C6. It's pretty quick, though. But, I mean, that's one out of a lot. And there's not many that are pushing the LT platform like the Coyote platform.
Yeah.
That's running like the modern classes up here?
It runs small tire.
Small tire.
Like a dark green.
I'm trying to think of what car. Dark green C6. I should know if it's from up here.
It's a dad that owns it and the son drives it or something like that. I saw Ben interview him. I love those videos. Like,
oh shit! Oh, I know what car you're talking about. That's in that's a car out in Milan, out in Michigan. Yeah. That's like a 16, 17-year-old kid driving that thing.
Yeah.
Like it was their 15. Like that was crazy. Yeah. It's the dad's car, and this kid was young, maybe 14. I don't know. He was real young though.
Yeah. He was really. I think he just got his permit or something like that.
Yeah. It was crazy, and I can't even remember what that car was running, but that was
quick. I mean, that's probably the only LT car that I know of that's really doing it. But I don't really think the LT platform is any better than the LS platform, and the LS platform has a lot of its own issues.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like he's good at me. Like otherwise, like in a boosted, unless it's an LT4 motor, I've seen them push that pretty good. Like, the small, blowers that come with LT4 blowers, I've seen them push those far. But it seems like they really shine in the NA capacity. But as soon as you throw boost or nitrous at them, they're not there. Like, even as far as nitrous, it seems like they're kind of limited with us, the Coyote stuff. Like, if you wanted to spray it, 200, you're risking it. 150 is a safe spot, and it's like it's not even really worth putting the nitrous on and going full nitrous car on it if it's not going to handle it. You know what I mean? So it really does seem like the LS has the better. I would almost say the LS is, if you're going to go all out racing, I'd rather go LS than LT. Just it seems like the boost favors it. Nitrous favors it. The LT motor, it's like unless you're going naturally aspirated racing, there's really no point of getting into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the LS is probably the best cheap platform to build. Like, if the problem with the LS is, you get to a certain horsepower range, depending on the tuner and the knowledge. Sometimes it's 1200, sometimes it's in like Jack Roberts, which is the LS record holder, 1700 range. It didn't matter what he did. The 4.8 or the nice built motor that sleeved and everything, they both had head issues. Like they couldn't keep the heads on them.
Yep.
And so you have to go to the aftermarket block, and that's a 6-bolt block, or something like an SNL, which actually fixes the issue, which is Steve Morse. They fix the head bolt where it's located, and which that's like 60 or 80 grand or something like that. So there's really nothing that competes with the Coyote platform.
It's a junkyard LS though, man. What do you mean? It's $80,000. It's $500.
Yes, but it's going to have issues above 1200, 1700 or somewhere around there. So the only platform that's going above that with a stock block is the Coyote. That's can't argue with that.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're saying that, because there's a lot of that to this day, and it's the results are out there, but the LS guys are so just like overwhelmed. It's like they don't want to admit, and they never will admit that the Coyote.
Well, anytime they say something like that, tell them the hydraulic roller record is held by a Coyote that's 3,000 pounds, and there's a billet block LS that has been, I think he went a 399 hydraulic roller. Super impressive. I'm not hating on him, but that was at 2,300 pounds.
Yep.
I mean, you can't. That's billet block or stock block.
We need to clip that and make that a short on YouTube. He said it. There you go, guys. You heard
it. You can't argue with facts. Now, both guys are super smart. I mean, I think either one of them could have done it with the Coyote, and either one of them could have done the same with the LS. I don't think it's just the guy, because, well, that's not only the only one that's doing it with Coyote. There's a red Fox body that's been 4.0s. I mean, stock block. And I think they're probably all, I know of 3 that have been in the 4.0 range that are all FFRE. I don't know of any others that are stock block. I know TKM's playing with the billet block stuff. That when that what is it? Like a long boat thing. I don't remember what Galaxy. That's what it was.
Yep.
They've been fast with it, but it's no time cars. So there's a lot of no time cars probably fast, but
we'll never know.
Yeah.
It's like, that's why I love no time, but at the same time I hate it, because I like the competitive edge. I mean, it's just old school street racing, right? It comes back to, hey, pull up and hope you got enough. You don't know what the other guy runs. You kind of have a ballpark. You got to do your research. But I mean, there's a lot of cars that probably would hold records if the times were out there, but they never will, because you'll never know the times. So there's
a lot of cars that would hold records, and there's a lot of cars that'll be really slow.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. No time.
There's both extremes. I mean, not just no time guys are the fastest. Not all of them are. Some of them are really fast, but not all of them are.
Yeah. I see a lot of that. I mean, even with a lot of the grudge racing I do, like doing the street stuff, going to a couple of grudge events, stuff like that at 41. It seems like, especially on the street level, there's a lot of guys that hop into no time and will always consistently run no time just so they don't have to admit that their car's slow. I've raced guys that it's like, they're beating their chest and they may take down a track hawk here or whatever. Like, oh yeah, look, this 1,000 horsepower car I beat. I'm no time. I'm fast. And like the internet believes them. There's a couple of those guys that I've raced and I'm like, dude, you're probably 3-4 tenths behind me. Like, you're not it, dude. It's like, so he kind of, it holds that mask of like, I can act like I'm fast. Nobody's ever going to know my time,
And there's the dyno queens that make 1,100 horsepower, but they're slower than 600 horsepower cars.
Yeah.
Yep. I see that a lot too.
There's a lot of cars that make 1,100 horsepower, and y'all's stick shift nitrous cars that are optimized would beat them in every way.
Yeah.
Maybe not 100 to 150. That's probably about the only thing they have going for them. But that's just pure horsepower at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody likes that 60 to 130 now. I don't know whatever happened to eighth mile and quarter mile times, but everybody's all 60 to 130, 60 to 130. It's crazy to see the evolution. A lot of those guys, it's crazy as it is. Like you see that whole thing from, my car runs a 5-second 60 to 130, and then they go out on a no prep event or a front side event, and then they're sitting there and it's like, dude, your car probably isn't even a 10-second car. I'm glad it looks good on the rolls though.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, you got to have it all put together. It's not, like, for example, Zach Braun's 3-valve.
The white.
Yeah, the white 3-valve. I mean, he was out on me, so it all matters, and being able to pour power in, the full length of track matters. If I didn't have all that available horsepower, and he did, I would have beat him. But so it does matter, the 60-130, and it does matter, the 130 to one somewhere above that. But everywhere on the track matters. Like you see some of these races that like Casey Max goes to and stuff like that, and he's behind 3 cars at. I'll give you a prime example. I raced Casey Max at Yellow Belly. I was at his back bumper at 500 foot. He turned the lockup on and put 4 cars on me from 500 foot to 660.
God,
holy shit!
Yeah,
I must look nasty from inside the car.
He just, you can actually see in the video. I drove up on him at the 330, like I made ground on him, and then like 500 foot, I just like leveled out 500 foot. He just puts 4 cars on me out there.
Holy
shit!
So
that must look wild.
4 cars is, I say 4 cars. Even 2 to 4 cars, it feels terrible whenever somebody's pulling away from you like that. Yeah. That's 2 tenths that he made. At least 2 tenths that he made up on me at 500 foot. You know how much horsepower that is to do that?
Yeah,
that's a lot, especially that far out.
A lot.
Yeah.
So it all matters, but it matters more. The earlier in the run, it matters more than further away in the run.
Yeah. That's the truth. Now I got to pick your brain because that's another common thing I hear. So a lot of the fast guys, small tire guys, stuff like that, like up here local to me, obviously we got Mike Tanis, we got Matt Gaskin, Brian White, all them guys. Not saying them specifically, but I hear guys of that caliber that race with them. We spend a lot of time on the streets with these guys, and I'll hear it a lot where it's like, man, I kind of miss when I had a slower car. I kind of miss when I had like a daily driver type of thing. Do you ever have those days where you miss the stick shift stuff and like the slower kind of stuff? Where you're like, man, I'd like to go back to that or build another car for that. Like I know from Ruthless Racing and Infernal, the blue flame Fox body. I know I've heard him talk about it. And he built a specific street car, but he said that before where he's like, man, like I want to go back into like the slow car stuff, like the more street car stuff. And I see that kind of being a common thing. Do you ever kind of find yourself in that same boat where you're like, man, I want to kind of play with the slower stuff again, or are you just having fun where you're at?
So our street scene, I didn't mention this, but our street scene is terrible here. Like terrible. That's why I travel so much. So I live in Odessa, Texas, and it's oil filled. So our roads are, terrible. So there's not really many places to race on the street. Not any good. You're back. Take pictures. Your worst back of the track, and that's what we have to test on.
Yeah.
So do I miss when things were, the street scene here was great, yeah, for sure. But our street scene is not. It's not good at all.
Yeah.
So that's really helped me to, push my goal of where I want to be with my car, and I don't really look back at it because it's not, we don't have it. Now, in a scenario like yours where, you do have that street scene and it is fun, and my car sucks to drive on the street.
I feel that.
It sucks to drive. And when I say it sucks to drive, like, I would much rather drive my truck, like it's way more comfortable. I don't have to worry about people tearing it up. Like, my car is not the prettiest car per se. It's, not the paint isn't the nicest or whatever, but I have a lot of money and a lot of time in that car.
Yeah.
And it would be terrible if somebody just took it away from me,
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
How to carry.
It seems like the street scene's kind of dying everywhere. Like seems to be pretty common to hear that, right?
Yeah, and the real thing is how far, like when I was a kid, to see 1,000 horsepower car in the street was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
No, it's nothing.
that's wild. I can't believe how they're doing that. And then now, my car, makes around 1,800 or somewhere around there, and it's not fun to drive it, but it'll drive, wherever I want to go, and be pretty fuel efficient at it too. The main thing is the suspension. Everything's so rigid that, to not have issues with twisting and stuff like that. Everything's so rigid. It's not the best.
Yeah.
Well, you're switching over to methanol now, right?
Yeah, I actually just got the intake sold. So the intercooler input, and that's a really hard deal to sell, right? Because none of your stock ECU guys can run that setup because you have to have the mass sensor in the charge pipe, and then you're not actually getting the temperature of what's going into the engine, and it also burns up the mass sensor to make what it's capable of cooling. Mm-hmm. So I really paid attention to all the rules and been watching them, and nobody's really said anything about no methanol except for War in the Woods, and there was two cars there that were on methanol. I'm not gonna say which two cars, but there were 2 cars there.
I think I know which ones.
But you're looking to still stick with the true street classes, right? That's where you want to live. Yeah.
You would have, if I was still out there. I have a chassis car too, but I really considered doing like I have another Coyote and the chassis car there. That thing weighed 1,956 pounds with a turbo LS in it.
Damn.
Oh shit.
So it, I thought about putting a stock bottom and Coyote in it and resetting the record for it, but I have a Coyote that's there. I would just have to make my touches to it, but I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun with the True Street stuff, and I feel like I have a kid on the way too.
Congrats.
So nice.
That's definitely higher on my priority list than to build another car right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
And your car's hanging in the True Street class, so
we got some trick stuff that I spent some money on, and some rules that nobody's really thought about, and we do a few things like that in areas that people probably don't really realize. One's aerodynamics. I'll give this one away. So the last time we were at War in the Woods, everybody knows War in the Woods is super bumpy out back, right?
Yep.
I see some of your wrecks, and the shutdown's not very good. So I had a wicker that I built out of circle track plastic. Just the wicker, right? So I trapped 136 out there with just the wicker. I come back the next time and go 139 just by changing it to side and back. So therefore, it keeps the air trapped, and it doesn't let it spill over to the sides, and it makes it go over that wicker to add downforce out back. So just things like that a lot of people would look past. It's kind of the same kind of idea as the big wings, but looks a little better. And because the deal is, once again, it's all about using as much horsepower as you can. Now, in a scenario that you didn't have the available horsepower to add out there, then I wouldn't use it. But, we had 10, 15 pounds of boost left that we weren't touching. So more downforce to be able to use it is definitely more important than carrying a little bit of drag, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure. So you're going to stick with the no prep stuff then?
Yeah, I mean, until it dies off. My car's pretty versatile. I mean, I can go to a radial track. We went to XRP, which is probably one of the best radial tracks in the world. And I was able to, I'd still wheelie, but we towed the wheels for 2.5 seconds of the run, and it was just dead straight. So a lot of that is because of the way the car scales. It's 54% with 0 ballast in the rear.
Oh shit, eh?
Damn. That's what I noticed.
That's one of those things that it's very, how I said, there's things I don't really talk about.
Yeah.
Those are kind of the things that make it successful, because we have to run a radial 90% of the time.
Yeah.
So build it as rear heavy as you can get it. Generally, it's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, that's what I noticed with the S197s. They're really good for playing with weight. I've noticed that a lot, where it's very easy to get them as close to 50-50 as possible. Like last time I weighed my car when I was still in nitrous setup, I think I was 1,700 on the nose, and I was like just over 1,500 on the back. I'm like, it's really not bad. It's not good, but it ain't bad.
Well, the thing is all of that stock, like the fuse box, and you got a lot of wiring that hangs off the front of the car.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Once you get rid of that, move everything, rewire the whole car. That's a huge one. Air to water, if you're going to run an intercooler. A lot of people don't understand. So if you have an air to air, an air to air could keep up what I do, 100%. But if it's 40 pounds off the very front of the nose, it's going to take 80 pounds for me to offset it. So then I'm 120 pounds heavier, and not, just offset the ballast, versus the air to water where it's moved back on top of the engine. It doesn't, it's tall, I'm not a huge fan of that, but it's more about, if you look at my whole car, it's all about, if it works, it's on it. If it doesn't, if it's advantageous, it's on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed looking at your car. Your car is very function over form, and I noticed like how you have the turbo set up, your intake set up, everything about your car. That's why I was asking you the questions I was asking when I saw you at War in the Woods, because I was like, I kind of like to build my car in the same boat of like, hey, if this is going to help me, let's do it. If it's not going to help me, there's no point. Let's not even waste any money. So when I saw your car, I noticed that, it caught my eye, and now that you're saying that, I'm like, it just confirms what I was thinking. Like your car is very about the function, and there's a reason to everything that's on that car, which is badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't really see, you see a lot of Fox bodies like that. You see a lot of other cars. There's nobody really doing it with the S197, and that's why I'm such, I test so many things. Like my fab guy is like, how long are you going to use this until we change it again? And I'm like, as soon as I see a reason to change it, I'm going to change it. And I made 6 passes on the brand new turbo kit, and we're changing it already. So, the turbos.
So that's what you got to do, right?
The turbos are great. It's just, the rules, I can be 200 pounds lighter and still tote the same ballast. And they think an exhaust rule is going to slow us down, and a methanol rule is not. It's going to be backwards. The exhaust rule ain't going to do nothing to us.
That's badass. That's a good advantage to have.
Were they looking at some exhaust rules for True Street, or?
Well, they're really trying to, how do I word this nicely? They're really trying to slow the turbo car down and then equalize other setups. If you look at radial racing, they do it with turbo size or weight. And No Prep Kings, they do it, with weight, with the twin turbos. They make those cars heavier because they're able to make so much more power. And they're trying to figure out an easy way to do it in no prep. There's not an easy way to do it at all. They said the limitation or whatever was the tire. Now you've got cars that are using horsepower that nobody thought was possible on surfaces. I mean, if you look at look at Isaac Preston's ex-RVW car.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mile an hour is crazy, and he's using it. And you really got cars that step down from big tire to small tire, which are chassis tire, which push. Most of the Fox bodies think they can't hang, even though they weigh about the same, and they just most of them are turbo S's, so they don't have the power to hang per se, and so then they step down into True Street, and which I don't mind that, but fit the rules if you're going to step down into True Street.
Absolutely. I've always joked around and said that True Street was just slow small tires. So the guys that are crying and complaining that they can't hang in small tire, it's like, well, they want to kick down in the True Street so they can feel like a badass when they're out there puppy kicking. And they'll sit there and say, well, no, that guy's got the same thing as mine. Well, no, you added stuff on your car to make it fit True Street. That guy built
really funny? When the small tire guys come into True Street, still get their ass kicked.
Yeah.
I see that a lot. Done it a lot.
I love it, man. I'm a big fan of that because I think small tire and Outlaw stick shift, to me, I feel like they're one and the same minus the drivetrains, but it's just like they're both, I mean, they're all out chassis cars. If you wanted to put big tires on it, if you wanted to put a small tire slick or a 275 radial, you can make it happen. Those cars are far and few. Like, you can do everything you want to do to them. And then the True Street car, it's like, these are cars that started as somebody like your car, like my car. These are cars that, like, hey, we bought it, we evolved over the years, and it's, it is where it is. We never had intentions of building a chassis car or going sixes in the quarter. But the guys that get out there and, their operation to spend the money to go to races. I mean, I've heard guys, they're like, yeah, I've been 40, 50 grand in to make a race. And, they're not winning. So what do? Well, I'm going to go add a couple things into my car to make it fit a slower class. Cool. Now I'm the hero. And you see that a lot with stick shift too, where it's like they can't hang in the the elite class. So, okay, well, let me make a couple changes. I'll go in the slow class. Now I'll run, 750s on a class that's 9-second cars. It's wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think the methanol rule was really, I mean, it wasn't a good rule as far as the mindset goes. Like, a nitrous car is allowed to run race gas, and I should be too. But as far as not something that someone can just add some interior into their car and be good to go, I think it was a good rule.
Yeah, I agree. And
there's a lot of cars that'll make a cruise on methanol with a very, very small fuel system. I mean, you can make a cruise with a methanol car if you have enough fuel with no cooling system.
Well, we were just talking about that when I was in Chicago there the other day visiting Jay. We were talking to Adam at the shop there. He was talking about cars running on the street with methanol. Like, this is going back years ago. Guys, no problem going out for coffee and grab a bite to eat to around town on methanol. No issues.
Yeah, you just run it. I mean, it's a very cooling fuel, so you just run it rich enough. Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is you'll never really melt the oil as long as you run it hot enough. You run it past, boiling temp, like 195 degrees on the coolant temp, and then, I mean, these ECUs are so smart nowadays. Like, I could have a button on my dash and turn that button on, and it would add, whatever I wanted to the fuel table to be richer, leaner. So you let it heat up to that, and then turn that on, and then you can go as far as you want. It's just you got to have enough fuel. It's going to use a lot of fuel, but you can do it.
Yeah.
Got me thinking now.
Yeah.
Got me thinking. We're right
Now,
to advantage.
kind of circling back to that exhaust roll, like what are you hearing like for true shit? Are they talking about like dumping behind the axle or tailpipes, like
Past the firewall, it's not going to.
past the firewall? Oh, okay. So like how much would that really affect your setup with the turbos? Like I can't imagine it'd be that much more than it'd be more of a pain in the ass probably just running the exhaust there than anything.
Well, so I did some things over the winter while I was waiting on, because I actually bent the cam this last time that I broke it. So I was down quite a bit for quite a long time waiting for a cam. But I cut the cowl out of where the wipers go. Mm-hmm. And so there's a spot over there behind the strut towers. And there is a perfect spot there for some turbos to be Pro Mod mounted. And then sit right where they need to go past the firewall. So if they put that roll on, I already have the FFRE billet header flanges to build custom headers. I've already prepared all of this.
You're ready for it.
And they're not gonna like it because it's gonna get more race car with their new rule.
Yeah, and it's funny that you brought that up because I swear to God today I was looking at that because I still want to relocate my turbo. I don't like it sitting basically where the fog light would go. I don't like turbo sticking out of the body and being all like, "Hey, look at me." I think that's some blower car shit. I love blower cars. Let them have it. And I was looking at it today, and I know exactly what spot you're talking about. So I was like, "Huh." I'm like, when I feel like getting a little bit more serious, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And then you bring it up now. I'm like, perfect. I'm not crazy.
There's also about 4 inches to slide the motor back too.
Yep. Yeah, I did notice that when we were doing we're taking the long tubes off to put the turbo manifolds on. I was like, there's some room to play here.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to. I'll say it. There's also no rules about carbon transmission tunnels, and those are about 80 pounds.
I like what you're talking, man. This is all the shit that I've been thinking about because, I mean, in our stick classes, there was no rules besides H pattern 2810.5. So I'm like, I'll fucking throw the MMR or I think it was MMR or JPC makes the trans tunnel. I'm like, I could just do that shit. Nobody's going to complain.
Well, the thing is, so the rules all say stock 4 pans, right? Yep. So radial cars been doing this forever. I mean, if you look at Charlie Brown, they fit a stock 4-pan rule by adding stock 4 pans underneath their aftermarket 4 pans just to fit the rule. They just tacked it in. So, the 4 pan has nothing to do with the drive shaft or the transmission tunnel. So, you have all these small tire cars that are stepping down the true street that are race cars that they're trying to transform back into street cars. I mean, I got to get every advantage I get. Honestly, I was thinking about selling my car and starting over, but I have so much experience with the car. I mean, the chassis, I know the chassis, I can unload anywhere and go down. So it's hard to restart that, Yeah.
I was going to ask, when you hopping into a Fox body like Robbie?
I considered it, but the S197 chassis is so good at front side, and their limitations are actually the upper control arm. You can't get enough downward leverage on it to move it back far enough. Like a very common instant center length on a Fox body would be like 28 inches, and they have like 175% hand squat. You physically cannot get to that with an S197 unless you have the lower control arm shooting to the sky. And it's not it's a different way of doing it, but the bar spread is so much whenever you do that it's not really advantageous. So to get there with the 3-link is hard for backside stuff. And I mean, I don't have the money to play in small tire on front side stuff, you know, because you gotta have a lot of money. So my goal is to buy I got the chassis car. It's an '84 RX-7, and so it's a shorter.
Oh, nice.
And go Coyote, and obviously the best engine there is, but go Coyote on it, and then backside race it.
Right on.
That kind of transformed around because I had that plan before my kid was on the way, so now it's kind of more transferred into a backup chassis if I wreck or when I wreck my Mustang, because it's not it's always when.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had a close call, so I know it's around the corner. It's a scary thought.
Now, let me ask. It's hard too. Like you hit that next gear, it it unsettles and then resettles the chassis. So if you're, a lot of these no preps we're going to, the farther you get, the worse the surface gets. Anytime you're shifting. So some of my strategy with my transmission is I'm able to make the car drop 0 RPM on the shift.
Okay.
And what that does, every car, if you notice, every car on no prep, they're always prone to knocking the tire off in the shift. It's because the load changes. Mm-hmm. The converter couples right when it shifts, and being able to manipulate that to where it can have an RPM drop but also cannot have an RPM drop depending on the surface you're on is huge.
Yeah, that was actually the next question I was going to ask you. So for any stick shift racers that are listening, planning on going to War in the Woods with those notorious transitions that are there, because I think they're 5 or 6 per lane, I'm sure we're going to have our hands full. Do you have any good pointers for the stick class there on how to not wad your shit up?
First, have a good shock in the front. A good shock on the front that has really tight compression. And the reason you want really tight compression is you don't want the front end to come back down ever. The only time I will loosen up compression is if I'm to a point where I am completely out of power and I need the front end, or I want the front end to come back down to accelerate faster. Because the front end being down, you will accelerate faster because the aerodynamics are better, everything's better. And you generally go to the finish line on the only time I ever go that fast is if I'm on a track, and then it's, timing system. So keep the front end up, always keep the compression tight, have a good shock. I cannot tell you how many times I get messages about, I've handled at least 10 situations where they tell me they're having issues, and it is one specific shock manufacturer. I'm sure
I know.
You probably know.
I'm in the shock. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah. The best shock manufacturer is going to be TRS or Afterworks.
Yep.
And the biggest problem, I told you this at War in the Woods, the biggest problem with the Mustang community is they think that just because it's a Mustang, it works differently than other platforms. No, look at the fastest guys, see what they're running, and that's what you should run. You shouldn't try something just because they market themselves as a S197, S550 specialist or whatever,
Yeah. I know exactly who you're talking about. I've called them out before on this podcast.
You can do it again.
Well, track, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
What do you got? You got TRSs in yours then?
Yeah. TRS. I had the first set of long travels from TRS.
Yep.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Jeff didn't even know he called my car at SN197 because he didn't know what it was back then. And he sent me Fox Body mounting brackets for it. He had to send me because he didn't know. That was the first one he ever did. So
yeah.
Me and Zach Brom, that white S197, he had a pair of shocks, and he sent it to him to have them rebuilt. So we were right around the same time. Yeah. And I mean, I can go one 170 60 foots on some really, really bad street stuff, and have the front end top out as I want it to. And I can also go 119 and still not have, a problem. So there's really not a reason to not. And Afterworks is great too. I mean, they're right on par too.
Well, I'll tell you what, after we get off here, I got some cool stuff I got working. I'm actually working for Adam Dresiak, that used to tune for Kai Kelly. So I got a little something we'll talk about after when we get off here that I'd like to put you on with and see what we can do. And I think you'd be interested.
Always interested in trying new stuff.
Right on. It's going to be a game changer when it drops the market. We need to figure some stuff out, and we're going to kind of guinea pig with me, but I think it's going to be a big game changer once it does hit the market.
Okay. Yeah, let me know after this. So if I can help out, I will.
Absolutely.
And are those Vikings that you're running up front?
Yeah, they're Viking based. And actually, the Viking, probably going to get slaughtered for this, but Viking makes a better strut than AFCO, even though they're priced higher. And that came from Afterworks. Yancey Rodriguez, that's the guy who does all of Afterworks stuff. And they won't even sell AFCOs. They'll rebuild them, and it just has to do with their shaft itself is actually better, but their something to do with their internals aren't as good. So there's not a reason to not go with Vikings. They're cheaper. They're better liked by shock rebuilders. I mean, I've had zero issues with them. So
yeah, mine have worked out fine so far. I got Vikings in the back as well too, Crusaders, but just the shocks. I don't have coilovers in the back. It's still a spring and shock deal.
I will say I have AFCOs in the back, and I've had to rebuild them twice.
Yeah.
So I'm noting all this down so we could report this back when I take notes. I deal with AFCOs. That's actually one of our new developments. AFCO, Penske. I mean, we were even servicing old ponies. Penske's are the truth.
Yeah. Nice stuff.
You gotta have lots of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to inboard my shocks and go to coilovers before I think about upgrading some rear shocks. There's a lot of things I miss out on that I can't do because of that.
Have you messed around with a lot of different springs in the back, Jonathan? Like different weights? Yeah,
different spring rates, different ride heights, bar angles. I mean, every time that you see my car out, I'm trying something different because I think, and sometimes I go back. Sometimes my thing is if I'm just staying the same, people are going to catch me, and always got to keep working. I see a lot of people that post on social media or something like that. That here's your what do they say? Basically, like trying to get you to go out to the shop, right, and like get something done. And I was thinking to myself, do normal people not get off work and go directly out to the shop and work until midnight and go to bed and then do it all again? Maybe I'm actually backwards. I'll hang out my girl that one day and then I'm out in the shop, which she loves it. She races too, so she understands it all. So
she races too.
Yeah, she bracket races. She's actually swapping over.
Oh, the bracket. Yeah, you were saying that.
She's swapping over to no prep. She has an S10 that we're going to build for daily driver.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
Well, maybe we'll see what happens. Maybe our old ladies will end up in the race together because we're building my girl's car for the same thing. We got a '98 Z28 we're putting together, little LS1, and we're gonna, like I said, pill it till we kill it. So we're gonna see how much nitrous it takes. And my guy over at Roscoe Motorsports, he's like being the bad influence right now. Like, yeah, you could spray this much at it, it'll be fine. Like, okay, all right, bet, let's do it. So I'm sure we'll be outgunned being the nitrous car, but we'll see how far we can take it. She wants to still run a 4L60. I think she's crazy, but that's on her.
Man, I tell you what, I was sponsored by Ben's Performance Transmissions, right? And so I ran, quick plug, I ran his transmission for all 3 years, and I haven't had one issue out of it. Hot lapping it, 100 degrees, no problems. But he's actually trying out some 4L60 stuff and has had success with 4,000-pound trucks over 1,000 horsepower living.
Oh shit.
Huh.
That's like unheard of. That's good to hear because that's usually get the 7
This guy's sharp. He's really smart. He knows his stuff, and he's the one who does it all. It's not like he has a bunch of. I had my transmission. I didn't know about him, and he was actually local to me, and I bought it. I had $9,000 tied up in this Turbo 400. I went to the track the first time, let go of the trans brake, and it flashed 9,000 RPM, didn't move. And it took me 3 months to get this transmission. Well, I was like, I'm not sending it back because it's going to be another 3 months, and I don't want to wait that long. And then I met him, and he warrantied that guy's transmission, and I just had to pay for the parts. How good of a dude he is.
Wow.
It's unheard of. There's been another time where a customer that wasn't even his at a track here blew the transmission up. He said, "Get it out, bring it to me," and he had it fixed in an hour that next morning at 7 a.m. so that way he could race the next day. That's just how good this is.
Holy shit. That's solid.
Mm-hmm. Unheard of service.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like hard to find nowadays. A reliable shop like that that's actually going to stand by their word.
Does a really good job.
Oh yeah.
Fucking badass.
So where do you plan on racing this year, Jonathan? Like, do you have some key events that you plan on hitting up, and maybe probably some local stuff, I'd assume?
Yeah, so there's this event called obviously, I don't know if y'all seen it. Limpy is track manager of Abilene Raceway, which is 2 hours away from me. That's actually local to that car shop that my fab guy. So they're gonna have an opening event there, which I'm gonna try to make. I am gonna make it, but we'll see how tested I am. Swapping over to methanol and everything. But there's that one. There's this Roadrunner Rally. It's a drag and drive. It's a no prep drag and drive.
No shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Texas?
Yeah. That'll be fun. I don't know how many people are going to do that, though.
It's cool to see that being a thing now. No prep drag and drives. That's the only other one I heard of besides the one we have up here. That's what is it, Chris? Back to the Streets or something?
Back to the Streets. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that one, and then I can't make Yellow Belly because it's too close to the due date of my son. So,
right.
When's the due date?
4/20.
Oh man,
that's the only reason I remember it. I'm terrible.
You planned that. Come on now.
Yeah, I was, mid-act. I was just thinking, what would the due date be right now?
Great due date. Not pulling out. It's fine.
So yeah, you're saying no War in the Woods for you, I guess, this year, or maybe later on in the year.
Maybe the second one. I definitely want to get back to it, but they have the no methanol rule, and I'm not gonna hide that I'm on methanol. Yeah. I don't go to an event that I don't fit the rules in and try to sneak in. Like if I don't fit the rules, I don't fit the rules. But I do tune a car that's still an 85. It's an F body 427, 76, 75 precision turbos. So any class that requires E85, then we'll just take that car. And then maybe some 26 8.5 stuff. That kind of interests me.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Be running with my boy Brent.
Brent Albury?
Yep. Yeah, Hey Train. I know he's been heavy on that 26 8.5 stuff.
And Drew Street now.
Yeah. Man, let me tell you, that car, now that it's been redone, I seen it at PRI. Holy fuck, that thing is pretty.
Yeah. Man, that dude's... So, whenever I got offered the sponsorship from Nitrous Express, he was over there. We were talking shit back and forth, and he goes, he was saying something about his car, and then he said he didn't have a fuel pressure sensor. I was like, no, a fuel pressure sensor? Why do you have EFI? You're basically like a carbureted turbo car, like a blow-through deal. Like, what's the point? You don't have fuel correction. He didn't have O2 sensor. He didn't have fuel pressure sensor. Like he had no sensors. There was no sensors that worked, but maybe oil pressure, but that was about it. I was he's funny though.
Yeah, I heard his setup's pretty basic from what I understand. Like even like
it's
with
like
the tuning, I think
like an S100 94 millimeter turbo. He's really got the probably the what he could get out of the engine combinations that he has. Like the S400 turbo should do what that engine will do. I'm more of I'm gonna have too much turbo for my engine, and if it blows up, then I'll fix it. But I don't ever want to get out of turbo because that sucks.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm in that boat now. I got plenty of turbo to take this Gen 1 to the moon.
We can get Chris into the turbo life.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to go what he's doing. I want to go positive displacement, but everybody's like, turbo's where it's at, man.
Oh, I hadn't heard about this. All I knew was nitrous.
Yeah, so originally I was supposed to get a 2.3 TVS blower. Phil Fez, that was just recently on here. He's another 2.3 guy, and he's pushed the platform pretty far. And you can push these 2.3s pretty quick. And I wanted to do the same. I mean, one of our top guys in our stick class locally at the streetcar brawl at US 41 runs a TVS style blower, and man, he's hard to beat. But I wanted to go with that route, and I was supposed to trade up for it. And the guy was brainwashed by a local shop. I'm not going to name who, but he's like, I don't think a turbo kit's going to make more power than a blower. I'm going to see if I could sell it, and then we'll see, where I'm at. I'm like, dude, I was only going to trade you the kit. Like that was the only reason I took the, whatever I did in my car, took the nitrous off, did all that stuff so we could trade. So I was like, fuck it. Big turbo, throw some nitrous on there and let's party. Now I'm in the turbo game, but we had Bondo on. He kind of sold me on the 3.0 Whipples. So I'm thinking of a couple things. I like instant power. I like naturally aspirated stuff. I like nitrous stuff. So the turbo stuff still pretty alien to me. So learning it and getting used to it. I mean, I may fall in love with it once we start running the car, but right now it hasn't been nice to me yet. So it's been
for backside no prep. It's the way to go.
What was that?
For backside no prep, it's the way to go. Turbo for sure, right?
Yeah, the main thing is control. Like stock ECU. I mean, you have your nitrous progressor, right? But like a blower.
All I had was a window switch.
Okay, so but imagine how much faster you could be if you could put power where you needed it.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
So a turbo, you have that. It's the hard part about a turbo is figuring out the 60 foot. You figure out the 60 foot with a turbo car, then it's cake after that, and you're gonna be the window of how fast you can be is way higher turbo compared to everything else. Now it's harder to get it to be that like a blower. You're all in. As just like your nitrous with a window switch, you're all in. You're all in as soon, anytime you can have more power available and use it in places, it's always going to be faster. And turbos are,
I'd agree.
Turbos are on small cubic inch engines they're just night and day difference. For example, my car on 15 pounds boost with Paxton made like 800 horsepower. I think it was right at 800. And on 20 pounds boost with twin turbo kit, it made 1200.
Shit. Yeah.
So you're not robbing power to make power. You're just using something you're getting rid of.
Yeah. And especially the surface I race on, you can see in my background picture, like that crack right there is literally grass growing up in it. And you can see in the center line, there's grass growing up out of that. And God knows there's like a few other cracks in the surface where there's grass coming out of it. Like that surface got to be one of the worst in the country aside from maybe Dig or Die, or they may be just on par with each other. Like this is the kind of track that as you start in first round, you think it's going to get better. It does the opposite. It gets worse throughout the day. So it's one of those ones where it's like, man, you're lucky if you're cutting a 1.6 or 1.7 on that surface. Like even the small tire guys, they're probably 1.5s. And I mean, that's US 41.
Yes. Okay.
So yeah, they throw a monthly event, and they're doing a point series this year. They have small tire, true street, stick shift, and daily driver. Then they have a rumblers class now, which they kind of have this. It's cool to see because it's like the entry level class for a lot of the guys getting into it, where it's like pinks, where you have to negotiate. Like, okay, I know what your car ran. Let's try to like negotiate like street stuff. Give me this many lengths or the hit or whatever. It's really cool, and you see some really tight racing. It's really cool what the guys doing there with that event. But I mean, the surface is no joke. I've seen a lot of cars lost to that surface, and it's usually. I mean, like what happened to me. I got way too pedal happy trying to make a test run because the next round was my first round in stick class, and I had to give it all, and I almost lost it. I almost hit the guard wall. So it's one of those tracks where you have to respect it, or it will take you for a ride.
Mm-hmm. I think
I've actually got a question,
go
Jonathan, on the turbo stick shift stuff. Now, when you were turbo stick shift, did you have much issues with build and boost? Like, because I know that's obviously different than a auto car where you got the converter and you got the trans brake and everything. So that's one thing that I've never really asked the turbo stick shift guy, like how that works for building boost. Like, is it easy to build boost or hard to build boost?
Really easy.
Yeah.
The stock cam cars, they have the variable cam timing, right? So a good tuner programmer is going to manipulate the cam, where it's at. I mean, my car made 14, 15 pounds in like half a second.
Oh shit.
So,
because that's the one thing that does scare me with turbos is I've seen so many races lost for guys not being able to get up on boost in time or whatnot right on the line. So the nice thing with the TBS stick shift, it's all there. And
yeah, well, a lot of that is tuner error. A lot of it is stuff that's going on in the background that they didn't know, they didn't test. I mean,
okay.
I see so many people that go to the track and then they're trying to put the car up on the brake at the track to try to figure out how to get it up on the brake. I'm like, that's stuff that should have been done at home. Like, you've done in the shop.
Yeah.
You shouldn't even came to the track before you could put it up on the brake. And I had, it took me 6 seconds to spool that 98 because, I mean, that's 2,500 horsepower with a turbo. It's a lot of turbo.
A lot of turbo.
And so I never really had issues, I just knew that, I was going in first no matter what. And on flashlight start, and if it was if it was a tree, then as soon as I got in the beams, I would start getting up on it.
Pulling it up.
Yeah, you can also stall the car up to get the turbo speed, the shaft speed up, and that'll cut down on your spool time a lot too if you're having problems. And I've done that before too, but just really knowing how to do it. The stock stuff, if it's twins, it's super easy. A single might be a little bit more difficult. They always are a little bit more difficult because they're bigger exhaust housings to flow the same gas. So
yeah,
well, that's what Nitrous Express is for.
Yeah, that's why I got sponsored by Nitrous Express. Poland was at a race with us in Hobbs, and he was like, "Dude, I'm tired of hearing your car." I was like, I mean, I'm tired of it too, but it is what it is. So then I put that kit on, and it cut the spool time down from 6.5 seconds to actually I put a tighter converter in it because I was having issues blowing through the converter, and it was like 10 seconds, got it down to like 2.5.
Holy shit!
Oh, yeah. What size shot are you running? It's a 50?
It was a 35.
35? Okay, badass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just single entry jet.
Yeah, it was just a single entry jet. I drilled it into the turbo, and then sprayed it directly into the turbo, and it sprayed. It wasn't really a window switch. I built my own kind of window switch. It turned off with boost, so it would turn on with TPS and then turn off with boost.
Right on.
which I never really needed it out back. So I could trade it out back too if I needed it, but I didn't really need it. That's a dangerous thing.
Super caveman with a button on the steering wheel. I'm like, I'll just hit it when I'm spooling up and then fucking leave. And if I need it again, I'll grab that button on the top end and let it ride.
So you know how you're talking about how people have issues at the starting line?
Yeah.
I know that's what he did.
Like the Uno reverse on my ass. Damn.
It's the stick shift car. You got enough to worry about. Now you're adding all these buttons and fucking shit.
The whole thing with stick shift, right, is you know you're the center of how everything works, and versus like me, the majority of my work is done on the laptop before a race.
Yeah.
And you know the suspension tuning and everything like that. The majority of y'all's is the driver, and that's really what separates the great stick shift racers and the not great. Like there's, you know, my car was absolutely nothing special when it was an MT82. Like it's an on-3 turbo kit, 3.5-inch intercooler, stock 2018, you know, manifold. You know, nothing tuning secrets, nothing special with that. XD clutch, stock transmission, and you see how long it's lasted. You know, there's plenty of people that can do it. There's plenty of cars that could do it. I'm not saying that, you know, they probably just don't want to do it, but because it's a lot of work.
Yeah. That's the truth. Stick shift racing is not easy. It's definitely you got to work for it a lot more than where the famous line that I always like to say is we work twice as hard to go twice as slow.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've made many changes and gotten slower, but the thing is so if I make 5 changes and none of them work, then make one that works, I succeeded.
Yeah.
Because now I know 5 things not to do and 1 thing what to do.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's all learning curve.
And that's why people that test the most are always the fastest, and people that work the most are always the fastest. No matter what the rules are, the fast will be fast, and the slow will complain about the rules.
Absolutely. Well, I've done both. I've worked a lot and I've complained about rules a lot. So I don't know where I fit. I'm in the middle ground.
Well, everyone, you know, kind of gets into that sometimes, you know, like, I mean, I'm guilty of it too, complain about the small tire cars coming into True Street, but I'll complain about it, and then that just drives me to beat them.
And at the same time, you mentioned it earlier, right? Like you're just going to go to the races where you feel that obviously you fit in and where you meet the rules, right? So that's kind of what it comes down to, and that's kind of what I've learned too. If I'm not happy with something and I don't like a rule set, I just
don't show up.
Won't go there anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, most of the time I will like that exhaust rule. If they put that exhaust rule on, it would drive me to make those changes and to show them that they're wrong. Because I've expressed that that's not going to make a car slower. You know, they're not going to get slower. You're going to see a lot of rear-mounted turbos and stuff that you see in small tire that's advantageous. And you can't rule out a car that's got the turbos in the back just because the exhaust fits back there, you know?
Yeah. I like that we're talking this, especially we're coming up to that 2-hour mark. I wanted to bring you this up before we close out. I want to pick your brains as we're talking about how races evolve, and you have a stick shift background. Obviously, there was a couple things I brought up on a few episodes before where, you know, they will split stick shift class by time indexes, right? So you'll have obviously your stick shift elite, which is like a lot of the 6-second cars. And then you'll have like the B class, which is like the slower class, but you'll still have guys with slipper clutches, face-plated transmissions, G101s, G5Rs, strain gauges, whatever, going against guys with, you know, T56s, TKO 5-speeds, MT82s, you know, TR6060s. And I've always said that I feel like the difference between the two classes, if they want to separate it, would be one class is a single disc clutch whether it's hydraulic or mechanical, non-face plated, you have to shift the car. So a stock style transmission. And then the other guys, you guys could all dogfight it out in the elite class, whether you come in with a G101 or you come in with like how they're doing with T56s with like Grubworm. And a lot of those guys would complain like, oh, well, we're not race car. Why are you going to put us in that? Well, if there wasn't an advantage to face plating, why did you do it? You know what I mean? How would you feel? What the question I'm looking for is, how would you address something like that? Where do you feel the time index is what it needs to be, or do you feel that it should be an OEM style class in one, and the other class be like an all out go to war, like how small tire in True Street, where True Street is like you got to have some interior, you got the exhaust rule, the fuel rule, and then Outlaw stick shift being like small tire where anything really goes.
So the index deal is the easiest way to categorize something. So Little Gangsters, you guys know what that is, right?
Yep.
It's a 530 index. Yeah. The only reason it's successful is because just about everyone can run that in most of those True Street, slower, small tire cars. So it gives everyone kind of I'm not going to say nobody. I am never going to travel somewhere to go run an index.
Yeah.
I mean, some people might, but I'm never going to go somewhere to run an index. People are there to run a different class, and then the index is if something happens, and that's why they've been successful. So the index is just to make everybody fit in, and it's easy for the promoters to not have to check rules. Because if they had the slipper clutch and the faceplate transmission, you got to tech that.
Yep.
And how hard is it to tech that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can't.
Right. So War in the Woods had a methanol rule. It wasn't checked on any of the cars.
Yeah.
Well, I found the States is very lax for tech. Every race I've raced in the States, no one's ever looked at my car.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they say it's up to the racers to bring it up if they have a problem with it. Well, that just causes fights.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
You feel like a complete bitch if you call someone out because their car doesn't fit the rules, and then they're just going to say, "Oh, he's scared." Like, no, I'm not scared, but fit the rules. Like, I fit the rules. If you don't fit the rules, don't race the class. It's that simple. So to answer your question, the index is just an easy way for the promoters to not have to take the cars. And I think you're talking about a lot of like the street style classes, like the radial street stuff, right? Like the street car takeover type events, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The rules are wide open on those. Like it's not like a actual radial event where they're pulling turbos off to check sizing on turbos, and which those events suck too, because then you're there for a week for one event.
Yeah, it gets wild.
Yeah. The thing is you don't get better without sacrificing something.
Yep.
And the rules being indexed is just a really easy way for them to categorize people and make everyone have their own place. And, I don't have a problem with the indexes, because not everybody wants to put the work in or the time in and a lot of it's money too. I mean, there's a lot of people that can't afford to do the things.
Yeah, and
that's me.
Chris Lane said the other day too, like all racing's good. You know what I mean? Like it's helping the sport, keeping the sport going, right? Because I'm not big into index or that bracket sort of stuff. But when people put it that way, it is good. It's still racing, it's still drag racing, it's still good for the sport.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. And the thing that you're going to start seeing with like Little Gangsters and a lot of these classes. So my father-in-law is a bracket racer, right? So I know all of this actually helped me a whole lot. You can learn a whole lot from bracket racers.
Yep.
And I've learned a lot just by how the track works, how the tree works, how to use everything. I'll give you an example. So I was at in the finals with you guys know the truck Joe Dirt, which I actually helped that truck now. So turbos in the back and everything. So it's instant green. So I know that if I deep stage on instant green, I made the track shorter because I'm not worried about my rollout. I deep staged against him, beat him by quadruple 04. If I shallow staged, he would have beat me. So just knowing how the tree works and manipulate the tree, that's how I won.
Yeah.
So I learned that from bracket racers. And, you'll have tricks like that. You have tricks like traction control, using traction control to run an ET. Because if I set that traction control curve up to run a 530 and my car doesn't do anything weird, like it doesn't knock the tire off on the starting line, it's going to sit there and regulate 530. It's not going to let it go faster.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I don't like the index stuff, because I know that it's, and they don't allow drive shaft sensors or anything like that in bracket racing because of this stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Track locators, stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that it, could be.
Yeah, and you make a good point there too. A good buddy of mine, he was bracket racer, and I learned a ton from him. And a lot of my success has been from his coach.
And heads up racers shit on bracket racers all the time. And I'm like, dude, if y'all would just watch and learn from everybody and be humble enough to learn from people.
Yeah.
Because other forms and circle track racers, people shit on them too. I mean, that wing I built is from a circle track. That's where I learned it from, a circle track. And I'm humble enough to, kind of try to take in other avenues of where I can be faster. If you just look at, you're narrow-minded, then you're not going to see the full picture, I think I'm still guilty of it, but...
Yeah. But you got to be open-minded and just take everything, just listen, right? Listen, try different things. And that's like, the Jamie in the last one there too, like turn knobs, try different things. And
some of it's bullshit. You have to be smart enough to weed out the bullshit.
Yeah, well, that's true too, because I have been told some bullshit in the past, right? So
that's the big thing I notice is like, especially with the small tire guys and true street guys, is like there's a lot of guys that I noticed that I've dealt with. It's like they're, I'll go run a number on the street, or I went to this event, and then all of a sudden their head gets big, and it's, I know more than everybody, and I don't need to ask questions, I don't need to be humble, and they're just the biggest dickheads on planet Earth. And it's like, there needs to be a level-minded playing field where you're not so up your own ass that you're willing to experiment and try shit out the box, like you're saying about the dirt track wing and shit like that. But there's other guys that are so just ego-driven where they're like, "Oh, I'm not going to fucking do that. Like, I ran this. I'm a bad motherfucker." It's like, then you see that guy a year later struggling, and he's getting ran over in the field, complaining about the rules because he's just getting straight ran over because he didn't want to innovate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I actually learned the dirt track thing from Truly, which is, the Mustang car.
Yep.
He had that all over his car, and that's where I learned it from. He's the one who told me about it.
Yeah, that thing was wild, man. That fucking car was fucking.
There's a lot of stuff that I'm not going to talk about, but not my business to put out there. But he was talking about a dude that was sharp, and was down to try anything that he thought was advantageous. That was him. I mean, he was very smart.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of talent and no prep. And I think the thing I like the most about it is it's at a point right now where there's like so much that you can try and it's not rolled out. Like radial racing, there's you can't do this, you can't do this. It tells you a 3-page book of what you can and can't do.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
No prep's wide open. Like you can try whatever you want with these 8 rules, and that's so fun to me. I think it's almost as fun learning and trying new things and putting in the work in the shop. Like I enjoy the work in the shop, and I enjoy trying to get faster all the time. That's why the index just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah,
absolutely. I agree.
Well, that's sick. Well, it looks like we're getting on 2 hours here, so we'll probably wrap it up. So thanks for coming on, Jonathan. Lots of good information there. I'm sure I'll probably reach out to you in a bit, ask some questions. I think you could probably be helpful if you're willing to share some stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
with my program. So super cool to have you on. And you've got you're on YouTube. You got your YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's the Bailey Brothers Racing. There ain't a whole lot of brother going on, but it's Bailey Brothers.
And then you're on Facebook too, Jonathan Bailey.
Yeah, Jonathan Bailey.
So Facebook and YouTube is the best method for people to see what you're doing and what you're up to.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's sick. Hopefully we can link up at some point at one of these tracks.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We're a long ways away, but hopefully.
Yeah, I know. But like I'd like to get to Yellow Belly at some point. I think Jay would as well. So
absolutely.
Yellow Belly's gangster. It's
yeah.
It's so have you been to what is it? War in the Woods. That's Texas version of War in the Woods, and then I mean War in the Woods is like a hillbilly Yellow Belly. So.
Yeah.
It's my kind of play.
Well, I know Ben from Pro Tree Videos. He wants to get down to Yellow Belly as well, so it wouldn't be too bad if we get a few of us together and make the trip down. So
yeah, for sure. You let me know if you do. I can't make the first one obviously, but because of my son. But
yeah,
you let me know if you do. I'll be there
for sure. Hell yeah, keep you posted. I guess we might as well put a shout out here too. Shout out to Ben at Pro Tree Videos for hitting 60,000 subs. So
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, before we went live, Jonathan was talking about that too. So congrats, Ben. So we'll get her to hopefully 100,000 by the end of 2025. So that'd be nice.
One more shout out, just because I'm wearing the shirt, and this is one of the Texas homies with Nitrous Express. My guy Rosca Motorsports, Chris Rosca, formerly of Nitrous Express. He just started his own shop. So if you guys need any work done out there in Wichita Falls, he's the man to talk to. Chris Rosca, like I said, formerly of Nitrous Express. He will get you taken care of, man. That is a badass dude, and he is down to earth and on his word.
Right on. And I guess, Jonathan, sorry, you're doing tuning as well for others? Like, can people reach out to you to buy tuning, or are you just doing that for a specific group of people right now? Or
I'm really I really like helping people. So
yeah,
I help a lot of people, and I haven't charged anybody anything, but if you need help, reach out. I can't help everyone, obviously, but
yeah,
I'll help, the ones that I can. If it's something, I'm not doing any tuning on stock ECU.
yeah, just the Holly stuff, right?
Yeah, if you need help, Holly help or something like that, then I've helped out with a few Fox bodies and local cars that are tuned, and there's a lot of stuff that a lot of ET to pick up and just understanding everything. So
yeah,
I can.
So there you go, guys.
Guide people in the right direction.
Reach out, but don't abuse them.
Yeah.
Please don't. Be respectful.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thanks, boys.
Thanks.
Thank you.